My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have a former Rocky Hill talent now doing great things, which we'll get to later on in this podcast. His name, Danny Cavallaro. Danny, it's great to have you on, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chris, for having me. And thank you, Josh Howard, if he's listening, for just referring me, putting me out there and stuff. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad to be on the show today.
Josh Howard, who people may not know, writes for the Rare Reminder, covers Middletown, Cromwell, Rocky Hill, Portland as well, and he does fantastic work. I've had him on the podcast right when I was at the beginning of starting this podcast months and months ago, and he's a great talent and really does write a lot of great stuff. Danny, I think first and foremost, I want to go to your time because I mentioned Rocky Hill. You went to Rocky Hill and you played football there. Kind of just take me into your years at Rocky Hill.
Okay, yeah. So freshman year, I went in and I actually had a really bad knee injury in eighth grade. I actually shattered my patella into four pieces and I was out for 2 years. So freshman year, I was out of football. It really killed me because I was an athlete that was just the high school was looking forward to me because it was a small town. They knew about me in like middle school and stuff. I was really active basketball, football. Then this injury happened and it really just kind of messed up everything. So then I played football sophomore year and I kind of gained a little weight and I got kind of overweight, and that actually helped me lead to personal training, which we'll talk about little later in the show. But so yeah, it really came after my injury. I started quarterback actually on our team sophomore year, right after my injury. And it really just gave me a new perspective on, everything about leadership, friends, family, and just being able to walk, honestly, and like my health. So it gave me a really new perspective on the game of football and staying active and stuff. So we had 3 great seasons in Rocky Hill. Junior year, we actually made it to the championship. Unfortunately, we lost to Ansonia. If you're familiar with them, they're a great program. Senior year, we actually went 10-0. And then unfortunately, we lost to St. Joe's, probably even in a better program. But it was just an awesome time at Rocky Hill of being able to play quarterback. I learned a ridiculous amount in terms of teamwork, leadership, discipline, consistency, and all of that stuff I really translate into my business today. But it was just amazing. I think all the writers and cameramen or just anyone on like Twitter doing their thing, such as Josh Howard and anyone else really keeping up with the sports in Hartford County and all that. I think they do an excellent job. And yeah, it just made high school really, really fun. That was probably some of my funnest years. And yeah, I just played football, played quarterback, had an amazing time, and we did good throughout our seasons for sure.
I want to go first into you mentioned about the knee injuries, and then you kind of said you mentioned in your sophomore year that you were overweight.
Yeah.
Was it as far as putting two and two together? Do you think because of your injury, you weren't able to work out, you weren't able to train, and because you were so young, it's like, well, I could eat whatever I want. I can have a ton of
Yeah.
ice cream and I'm straight.
Yeah,
Do you think that
exactly.
kind of led to you being overweight because you could not train?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's really what it was. I wasn't running. I wasn't really being active. Nutrition wasn't really a part of my life yet, like good nutrition. So yeah, you're definitely 100% right. I gained a good amount of weight, 20, 30 pounds, and it was just because I wasn't really moving. I was still eating, Italians, they eat all the pasta, the bread, all that stuff. And people work it off, but I couldn't. I had that knee injury, so I definitely gained weight for sure. Yeah.
And then I go into the fact of your junior and senior year. You mentioned how Ansonia, who I've seen many, many times because I broadcast in the NVL, and they run that hammer. It's the same play
Yeah.
every single time. We know it's like we know you're going to run it, but they still somehow get all those chunks of yards, man. And even St. John's too. Another well-respected program in Connecticut. Both programs well-respected. But going back to Rocky Hill, I played against Rocky Hill in high school for baseball,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was astounded by how not just the facilities, but just the talent and how much the kids cared. And,
Yeah.
talking with Josh Howard again from the Rare Reminder about the program, because I was asking him questions about it before I had you on, and he spoke very glowingly kind of about, how Rocky Hill produces their players, not so much for the next level, but preparing them to be young men at wherever they go in the future.
Yeah, 100%. That's really what it is. It comes down to kind of the programs and just the people behind those programs. And as like a 16, 17-year-old kid, you really don't see it. But looking back, I think I had some of the best coaches, mentors, teachers that really helped me just be able to apply what we learned in sports and really just take that and implement it into school, into what I do today, all that good stuff. So they definitely did a really good job on preparing us. And, Rocky Hill didn't have like, we didn't produce, the crazy athletes with a bunch of talent, these 6'5" kids. We did not have that at all. We were hungry, we were disciplined, and we wanted to win. And that's really what Rocky Hill really made us about.
Now, throughout your years, as far as at Rocky Hill, when did you start to get that? And I'm sure, it wasn't your freshman year because you mentioned how you were overweight and you were trying to get yourself back. When did you start to get that itch of, you know what? I know that there's a certain ceiling with my football talent, but there's an opportunity for me for something else. My calling could be X, Y, or Z. How
Yeah.
did you know it was therapy, physical therapy?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So kind of new. I'm like even D3. It's a job, right? Any sport. So and I knew early with physical therapy because of my injury. That's really what I wanted to do. And I just feel like a jack of all trades trying to do a bunch of things is a master of none. So I knew going into college I wanted to really focus on physical therapy, focus on health and all that stuff. So I would say probably junior, senior year. In my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to go all in high school. We're going to try to win out, win championships. But in college, I was going to draw that line and focus on a different path.
Is there anybody that you talk to as far as kind of your goals? Because it seems like just from the few minutes I've talked to you, it seems like you really kind of have this plan really thought out. And it's not like, well, I'm just going to go do it because I wanted to. No, there's a reason why you have it. Did
Right.
you talk to, was it Josh Howard? Was it your parents? Was it your football coach? Was it a teacher? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so really it's funny how everything works in life because my experience, like my knee injury was probably one of like the worst things that ever happened to me because you're a 14-year-old kid, you're running around every single day with your friends and stuff, and then boom, everything could change in a second, and I'm still not able to run the same as I was. And it's like, all right, we have this problem. And then I go into physical therapy, and I actually met my physical therapist. His name is Eric Millman, and he knows Josh Howard very well, actually. And he just showed me a field of health that I really like fell in love with, which was physical therapy. Just being able to be one-on-one with a person and not just like help them physically. I think that's obviously part of it, the rehab, but just getting to know them, what's going on mentally. How can we really help this? And how can we not only just help your injury, but help your lifestyle, how you live, and just being one-on-one with someone and helping them with their health. I think it's awesome. Obviously you could get paid pretty handsomely, so that that sparked interest as well. And then I kind of just knew, and when you're like in a PT office, everybody's friendly. There's no like negative vibes or energy or whatever. Everyone's trying to get better in there. Everybody's about their health. So when I was just introduced into PT, I was like, all right, I think I definitely want to do this. So my physical therapist was definitely a mentor for me in that type of sense. And yeah, my parents were just about it. My parents know that whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to accomplish. So they're going to have my back no matter what. But yeah, I would say definitely that experience turned out to be one of the best things that happened in my life because I got introduced into PT. I got introduced into a whole new ball game of perspective and gratitude and just being thankful for what I have. And yeah, if that really just answers your question, yeah.
Was there any other schools before you obviously chose Springfield that you were kind of pondering on maybe here, maybe there? Because in the amount of athletes that I've talked to, and even some coaches who played when they were a lot younger, they told me how when they were choosing colleges, it was the final three or the final two, and it really kind of was if they were stuck in, okay, is it Springfield or is it Central or something like that? They kind of did the
Right.
pros and cons and said, okay, this is what benefits me. Here's the negative. And then they did the same thing for the other school. and then they just put it together and said, okay, let's see what works?
Right. Good question. And actually, I was still going through the recruiting process with football, because in my head I kind of knew I didn't want to play, but I was like, all right, I'll just, poke around, see if maybe I want to play. So I visited Springfield, I visited WNE, these all these schools. I'm not sure. I think there was another one, maybe Stonehill or something. Yeah, I think it was Stonehill. I went to all these camps. And so I went to Springfield and I really liked it. It's just, I didn't want a big school because I'm big about, if I'm in class, I don't want 100 students that are trying to get the attention from my professor. I want undivided attention. That's kind of just how I am. So I wanted a small community. And Springfield, I like their whole thing is like mind, body, spirit. I'm really all about that. And also my good friend, Joe Catania, who played with me on Rocky Hill, he ended up playing Springfield football. So we were able to just talk, and he ended up being my roommate in freshman year. So it just kind of all worked out in that sense. And I definitely don't regret choosing Springfield College. They have great professors, just a great community. But yeah, it came down to WNE, Western New England, right across the street, Springfield, obviously, and then just other schools in Mass, Connecticut. I knew I didn't want to go too far, but I didn't want to stay in Connecticut. So yeah.
That's great, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not so much kind of the big time school. It's more so where you feel comfortable and where you feel like you can kind of succeed and move yourself as far as progressing, if it's either a sport or, if it's, the job that you want to be able to have in the future. And it sounds like that you picked the right school in Springfield to progress your career.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you definitely hit it spot on for sure. I learned a lot already in Springfield, and just the community aspect. It's not so much of like that the big school like you were talking about where there's thousands of people. You kind of just find like your close knit friends. You have that community, and then yeah, you're just. I mean, it's crazy with COVID and stuff right now. You can't go on campus. You can't do any of this stuff. But when you're on campus and you're just hanging, it's a great energy to just be around. And their education is great as well. So that's something I really like about the school.
And speaking of COVID, we'll get right to. I know, as far as what you've started, you have your own company right now, DC Fit. Do I have that right?
Yes.
I think that, and I've been able to look it up a little bit and just, kind of browse around. Very impressive, man. I think it's a very good, I mean,
Thank you.
obviously you have a bunch of followers on Instagram, Twitter, you're really kind of getting things going as well. And
Thank you.
now you started this before COVID, and kind of how did it begin? Because I've, just reading up on how like Apple started, how Amazon, like all these other companies, it was the not strangest ways, but it was ways that you would never would think. So how did this start?
Yeah. So I was in college and it was freshman year, and just like this was my life. Really, there was no more football, right? So you kind of have like this. All right, I was playing football since literally kindergarten. Now I'm 18 years old. It's like, what do I do? And the thing with school is it's especially freshman year of college, like you have a lot of time, right? You're not in school from just like high school from 8 a.m. to 3. Like you have a lot more time. So I'm like, all right, what should I really do? And I just thought, my friend had one, so I just thought like I'll make a fitness page, right? Not really a service. So I just made a fitness page, started putting up nutrition, whatever. I still like the premise was to still sell. I sold meal plans and workouts, all that stuff. But it started so small. Like I look back at like my videos and the content that I used to put when I started, and I laugh. I literally laugh because it's just really black and white in terms of like the marketing, the content, the value that I'm producing. So I just started, freshman year putting out nutrition pictures, what I ate, and I got a lot of interest. I obviously got a lot of follows and stuff. I was consistent with it. And it wasn't until this summer where just was it? Yeah, it was after COVID, right? So this summer that would just happen, I actually invested in a business coach, an online business coach. Was the biggest investment I ever made, and it was the best investment I ever made. His name is Phil Graham. He's out of United Kingdom actually, and just taught me the ins and outs of how to actually like scale and produce great content and just produce a great service in online fitness. And so I really followed his steps, what he told me and everything. And that's what I'm just really doing today. So I have really just one core service. It's my 90-day transformation. That's what I have now. And I didn't have this 2 years ago, even 6 months ago. I really didn't have it. So it's almost like I'm starting over. So I came a very long way in terms of really knowing what to do, how to do it, how to provide a great service. So yeah, that's really where I am now. And just every day, I'm just trying to perfect what I do in terms of marketing, in terms of getting my clients results, all that stuff. I've definitely came a long way, a long journey.
If 2020 and what I think 2021 is going to teach us, man, it's that we have to adjust. We have to find ways because obviously, when you think about it, because of what's going on, with COVID and everything, there's certain things like prime example, the stock market. I don't know if you're into that. I'm
Yeah.
starting to get into it because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now, if I invested in movie theaters, well, obviously, probably not the best investment because that's going down. People aren't
Right.
going; they're closed. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Waterbury. The movie theater at the mall just closed. I don't even know if it's going to open again. But if you invest in like you did in physical therapy, personal health and such, because of what's going on, that's going to attract people because COVID is affecting the health in so many ways. And I think from what it almost seems like you maybe saw it before COVID hit, or maybe you saw it at the beginning. You're like, you know what? I'm going to put all my chips to the, front end. I'm going to put everything in and see if it can work. And so far, man, it's paid off.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And with COVID, I wouldn't say like I just made the investment because of COVID, but it definitely had an impact because I saw my need in the market, right? All the gyms shut down and nothing was happening. Everybody's kind of getting overweight, eating like crap. Their mental state is just not there. So I'm like, all right, how is the best way I could put myself out there with online training and just be able to know what to do. So, and the best thing about social media is networking, talking to people, and really learning from their experiences. I'm really big with stories over studies. You could look up a bunch of stuff on the internet, but if you just, get to pick someone's brain that's, at the level you want to be at for just 1 hour, you're going to get a ridiculous amount of information that you can implement. And so I was talking, blah, 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 and someone told me to invest in this coaching. And like you said, it was just perfect time with COVID because I feel like I really perfected I still am. I just got better at what I do. And gyms were closed, all that. So I put the marketing out there in terms of, all right, you don't need a gym. You can work out at home. If you just put the variables in the right place, you have your nutrition in place, and if you have a coach. And I think that message really hit people, and they just started investing in me, and I really appreciate it. And I tried to obviously get them the best progress possible. So yeah, I think COVID, especially with the no gyms, they were like, all right, what do I do now? And a lot of people were looking for help. So yeah, I think COVID was just really the catalyst to what I do. So yeah, for sure.
That's great, man. I could speak the same way as far as this podcast. It started off as just a couple ideas that I wrote down and I threw it out to my girlfriend. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? Because I stopped broadcasting. I'm never going to forget it. COVID struck, what was it? March 12th. March 12th is when the world stopped. I was
Yep.
up in Amherst that night prior before everything just went to a complete pause.
Yep.
And, it was like as each state, because I was up in Amherst, I was coming back to Connecticut, and each every time I went back to from Amherst to Hartford to
Yep.
Waterbury, it was like Amherst to Hartford. Oh, the NBA's canceled. Then I'm going from Hartford to Waterbury. Oh, the rest of sports is canceled. It's like,
Yeah.
come on. But the reason why I started this was because I felt like if I can't broadcast, I'm a person that wants to keep learning. I love to read about sports. I love to be able to have conversations like this. I miss this, especially in person. So being
Yeah.
able to have this has really helped. And I never thought it would blow up like it has. And it's become one of the better. And I don't even know if there's another podcast, but it's been a very successful one. And I think
Yeah.
to your point about what you said about striking while the iron was hot, I think because of COVID, you took advantage of that in a positive way. And you found ways to be able to help people where maybe, not saying it wouldn't have been as popular if COVID wasn't existing, but there wouldn't be the need because people were home. They were on their phones 24/7. They were trying to find something to keep themselves going, keep my girlfriend mentions about the routine. having a routine to keep yourself going forward. And I think you found that.
Yeah, that's like 100%. And kind of just backtracking a little, like you said, I think this happened with everybody. You know, when one door closes, another one opens. So the fact that you found that with podcasts, I think podcasts are awesome. I love them. I listen to them a lot. So yeah, I definitely know what you mean when it comes to that. And yeah, your girlfriend is 100% right. The routine is key because March 12th happened and then things were kind of prolonging. People didn't know. And then that messed up people's routines and that messes up people's habits. So when your habits are kind of, offline, you start doing other habits, right? Eating like crap, thinking the wrong thoughts, doing the wrong things that just aren't going to really help you grow. So having that routine, having structure, it might have been a little more difficult to find during COVID, but that's like imperative if you're really trying to find growth. Really trying to take on your day and execute your day. It can't just really be sporadic and trial and error. I'm going to do this, do that. If you have a set game plan and you execute, you're going to end up winning. So that's just like the first minute of this talk, right? It's about just finding not only routine, but just building the steps and adapting, right? Being able to adapt is just 100% like the biggest thing I feel like, because you can't control what's going on, right? You can't control COVID. You can't control the chaos that's happening in politics right now, but you can control how you react to it. And that's the biggest thing to really just keep in mind is just if you have your thought pattern, if you have your habits in line, then nothing else is really going to matter. You just have to be kind of hyper focused on your goal.
It's almost like you read my tweet that I just sent prior to starting this, this interview podcast. Because I said, while there's a lot of things, I'm kind of not using every word, but basically the point of my tweet was, I
Yeah.
can't control what's going on in the country and the world, COVID, politics, everything else that's going on. I stay away from that. That is not something that there's a no-win situation. And honestly, it's not positive regardless because there's nothing but negatives. But the one
Yeah.
thing I can control as a media person and as a human being is helping the people in Connecticut, making sure on the sports side, non-sports side, that they're okay physically, mentally, and that I'm supporting them the best way possible, good, bad, or indifferent, depending on the, because sports, you can have discussions. I mean, we could talk about that forever. And I think the
Right.
same thing for you. While you're just in the same boat, you can't control what someone's doing at the Capitol or so on. But what you can control is helping the health of the people in Connecticut and even outside Connecticut if you have clients outside as well. And I think that's really good.
Yeah, 100%. It really is just coming down to what you can control. And it's not like I don't care about, COVID and politics and all this stuff, but it's just not on my mind. And I bet you could agree with that, right? It's not like I don't care about COVID or what's happening at the Capitol, but, it's not under my control. So I have no right to really be angry about it, be stressed about it. I really don't put my energy towards that stuff. I only put my energy, and I know you could agree on this, towards our work that we can control, right? If you're in sports, then yeah, you want to, communicate and connect with as many people as you possibly can and talk about this stuff, right? I'm into health and fitness, into my service, and I'm going to try to help as many people as I possibly can, whether what's going on in the world, because that's not under our control. We control how we react to it. And the great thing is, the better we have our health in line, our mental state, the more stress that's taken off our shoulders. So it really helps out. It's a win-win. But yeah, there's chaos going on in the world right now, but we really have to stick to what we can control in the present moment.
I 100% agree with you, man. You know what? We're just about running out of time, but I really do appreciate you coming on, man. As far as your business, and I would love to be able to help in any way. Is there any sort of information that you want to get out to the people who will be watching this when I post this on Instagram, Twitter, and all the other social media outlets that you want to share?
Yeah, so I mean, if they're interested, I have my website dcfit.fit, or they can just go to my Instagram, Danny Calves, not like the muscle calves, CAVS underscore fit, Danny Calves underscore fit, and they could just reach out to me. It's very simple. If they're interested in what I do, they like my content, my service and stuff, all they have to do is send me a message saying transform. And I send them all my details from there. But if they're not interested in coaching just yet, I have a free 14-day trial. I produce a lot of great content that's very helpful day in and day out. So yeah, and obviously my Twitter, my Facebook, they could find it all under my website. And so yeah, Chris, just thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, man. It was a good time. Sorry for the miscommunication in my connection. But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. And yeah, anybody listening or interested in what I do, definitely just find me on Instagram, social media, or hop on my website, and we could get you started as soon as possible.
Man, I wish you nothing but the best of luck, hopefully in the future, and nothing but a hopeful, bright future for you and your business, man. Now, wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent, and I'm on a journey to find them all. Have a good one, everybody.